My guest, Suzanne Joie, is a Gene Keys guide, a Sui and Holy Fire Reiki master, intuitive coach, vocal sound healer, and educator. She is passionate about empowering women, helping them connect with their innate abilities and increase joy, ease, and confidence and compassion in their lives. And today she's going to talk about owning your tone, how to use toning to project your authentic voice. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thanks. Yay.
So when you talk about like toning and vocal sound healing, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
So one of the things that is really useful, and I really kind of felt into the radiant self nourishment that everyone's looking for right now, and it's some of it comes out in play. And I think sometimes we forget to play, and the toning is a form of play, much like we did when we were just learning as kids how to make sounds. And just allowing yourself to experience something new and allowing the sounds to move through you. And it also can be really helpful to our somatic system and calming our nervous system. So toning is making sounds that feel good in your body.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and just making certain sounds just because they were fun and they felt interesting or satisfying in some kind of way. And I know, like, watching babies when they're first starting to make their sounds, how like sometimes they just like do it so loud, right? It's like, what are they doing? Well, they're just experimenting with their voice. So it sounds like that's what you're talking about, like bringing that back as an adult.
Yeah, bringing that back as an adult, we then can play in that unknown, and laughter that is nourishing to our soul, to be able to experience all of the sensations and sounds and frequencies. And when I talk about owning your tone, sometimes we have been so inundated with so much other noise that we forget our sound.
Yeah.
And so just playing with our own sound helps bring our own voice back into focus.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's dive into that for a second, because this all this external voices, like, they become integrated into our thought process, and we think we're being authentic and saying what we want to say, but really we're being influenced by those voices from earlier in our youth. So, is there a process that you have to help you, discover which is your voice versus the other voices?
Yeah. So one of the techniques that I have used is when I go inward, certainly, doing a lot of grounding exercises with planting your feet on the ground and feeling into your body, because a lot of people, me included, likes to play out here. And so really feeling it in my body and in my somatic system, but also doing a lot of breathing exercises. And as I'm breathing, I make sounds.
Okay.
And so we could all do a quick practice together just to kind of explore what this might feel like if you put your hand on your heart and one on your belly. And you just take a nice inhale. And as you exhale the sound, ooh. So take a nice inhale. Ooh. Just feel that sound reverberating and where you felt it in your body. And that's just one simple exercise just to kind of presence you into your creative center, into your space, and coming back into here.
Gotcha.
And when we do that, it's really, it allows us to, you can't do both. You can't be like in all those other places while you're doing this, because it can't happen, because you're in it and you're feeling it. So
it brings you present, and okay, it brings
yeah,
you present. Yeah.
it brings you back into your presence. I mean, it's a form of mindfulness and intention. And so it's a way in which you can tune back into your voice, your sound, your beingness.
Okay. When you said when you made the ooh sound, and then you kind of broke it down afterwards and said, it brings you into your creative center. So you and I know that's like second chakra. So and I've recently learned that it's also a neuroplexus in our spine. So then, are there different sounds for the different, like, we can call them energy centers, we can call them neuroplexes, we can call them our glands, whatever, because we've got glands lined up and all those things too.
Yeah.
So are there different sounds for each of those areas?
There are. And there's, as you feel into it, it's, there, we have a 7 chakra system. Really, there's like 12, but just to keep it very simple, because most people know the 7. We can start, if you'd like to play with me, we can do this together.
Just run us through.
Yeah.
Run
All
us
right.
through the,
So your root chakra is more like, and everybody has a different pitch. So don't ever worry about, oh, I'm not in pitch with her. You just go to your lowest note and just be like, and then you go up to your sacral and you go, ooh. And you can go to your solar plexus. Oh. You can go to your heart. Ah. Throat. A. I. Ah. Crown. E.
Okay.
So it's actually a scale, but you can feel the different parts. And when I love doing throat exercises, because it's an A sound. So whenever I think A, I think play. And so, that's when you can play with the tonality. And actually, each chakra has a very specific note to it. But I just like people getting back into their bodies and just feeling into those different activations when they just remember just to make sound. And it's okay to make a sound, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable in their own voice, and they're like, oh, I don't like the way I sound, and I'm not a singer, and all kinds of stuff.
So, or have some kind of block to feeling playful, whatever that might be, because they don't want to look silly, or they don't know how to play, or they don't remember how to play, or that kind of thing. So, like, how can people like tiptoe their way into this playfulness?
Right. So one way to tiptoe, I don't know if it is a tiptoe or if it's a it's a just jump in, because sometimes you just jump in. It's okay to make silly sounds. Like remembering, you can do it in the shower if you feel uncomfortable, or in the car. A lot of people like, sing in the car because that's where they feel comfortable. But even just playing with the sound of ooh,
gotcha.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be obvious, maybe you can just sing, a couple of verses from The Sound of Music.
Exactly.
Joe, a deer.
Right, exactly. So, part of it is laughter, lightness, bring that back into your somatic system. And that's a yummy process of nurturing yourself and honoring who you are and remembering.
But it's interesting, knowing that, we do have glands in those specific areas with the chakras, and we do have nerve plexus in those areas. And the vibration of the tone in our bodies does something, because we can feel our vocal cords vibrate, we can feel our breath vibrate. And it's just interesting to kind of like let our imaginations roll with that, like what that might do. Maybe it would create a pocket of freedom in there. Maybe it could help not only move stagnant energy, but actually just general stagnation from the body too.
Yes.
Like, I wonder if you make certain tones, if it would give you like just a really good poo.
Yes, in fact, there is. So a lot of folks, much like when you like stub your toe and you go, ow, your body already knows how it needs to release. But so many times we're like, you don't
hold on. You better hold on to that.
Hold on to that. You don't like make too much noise.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of folks may get hung up in the external as opposed to tapping back into the internal. But yeah, one of the exercises that I've done with some folks is the vowel sounds. So A, E, A, O, U. And using those staccatos to break up or move stuff. I mean, much like when you might be screaming your hat off in the car, that, you're releasing, whatever is needing to move through you. Because we don't need.
So vowel sounds.
Vowel sounds, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good tool. And you can even add a consonant to it. So she, sha, sho, shoo. I mean, it feels very different than, say, another one where you go, zay, z, za, zo, zoo, which is, to me, one of my favorites because it's so playful.
Yeah.
Where, so you can use it to get stuff out, and then you can kind of just play with it.
Now, how do these toning practices, how do those help us when it comes to our authentic voice? Like, how do they? Yeah.
So I think one of the things that it has helped me in my practice when I do these is that it stops the mental mind chatter and allows my divine self to come through.
Okay.
And I, this is the way in which because sometimes we get into some old stories, or we mentally gyrate into what other people might be talking to us about. Yeah. When I do these types of practices, this is getting me in my own zone where I can hear myself and I am truly speaking from my heart center. And it's a self-love practice for me, and it's an acceptance of who I am and where I am.
Well, you can't help but like accept if you're just like gonna just freely like make these sounds. There is a lot of self-acceptance and openness that comes along with that. Yeah. Talking as someone who's a little more rigid. I'm just gonna own it. I can be very playful and I can be very rigid, and so there is a great degree of self-acceptance just making those sounds in the first place. Yeah. So I imagine if you got into a practice of it, that self-acceptance would build into these layers of self-love.
Yeah. It's it is a practice, just like anything else. It's a universal love practice with yourself.
I like that. Universal love practice with yourself.
And it's tuning in, right? Yeah. A lot of people, I mean, I also use practices such as mindfulness and meditation and contemplation, but I also play with my voice because it just felt really good in my body.
Mm,
And that's delicious. I mean, why why would I want
right.
to deny that? Much
Yeah.
like much like people enjoy moving in their body, I was feeling that with sound. Like I was just drawn to sound. And when I would listen to very specific frequencies, so for instance, I would just download information on YouTube, and I was led to very specific frequencies of like 432 megahertz, and I would just listen to it. And so part of it is mind entrainment,
Okay.
but it is on a cellular level. You know, you are talking with the divine in yourself, in your body. So when you
Mm,
are toning to yourself, I sometimes have people put their hands behind their ears so they can actually hear themselves. You know, just
does
try
it
it.
help you get true tone if you put your hands behind your ears? Does that help you improve
So
your hearing for
you
yourself?
can it's almost like a recorder, and it kind of goes right back into your ear. I mean, you
Mm,
can have your inner ear, but you can also cup your ear
yeah.
and you can hear yourself. And so when we do that, that's a biofeedback loop to yourself. Yeah, you can do that in your
Okay.
mind, but I think that sometimes it's very helpful. It's much like when you say very specific words, and the vibration or the frequency of the word affects us.
Okay.
So, for instance, you know, when you and there's a lot of science experiments out there about, you know, two plants, one that is given lots of love, appreciation, and encouragement, and a plant that's given a lot of negative talk,
Yeah.
really, really awful words. And you can see the difference in the living specimen. Specimen. Um, one starts flourishing, and then the other, you
Yeah.
know. So the words that we choose to nourish ourselves, I just like to think that there's very specific tones that can nourish our body as well.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
So it can help on
And
a cellular level as well. Yeah.
well, I mean, our cells are always regenerating, and what's interesting to me is when you said the divine within myself. At first, I thought you said the divine within my cells, and I got kind of
Yeah,
excited at that idea. You know, like
it is.
the divine in my cells. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I like to think of my cosmic body, you know, being here, and that each of my cells, we're all a team and we're all here working together. So I want to vibrate as clean and vibrant as I possibly can so I can live a very healthy life and
Mm,
continue the work that I'm here doing. So
yeah.
um yay team.
You know, and the interesting thing about vibration, you know, there's some folks that believe like, oh, you got to have high vibes all the time, but but tone and vibration, those are just like a dial, like a radio dial, and like stones aren't bad, and stones are very low vibration. Like we like rocks, but pick up a rock from pick up a piece of granite, and that's very dense. It's a very slow vibrating um, energy to that, and you can pick up a certain kind of crystal, and it's a very high, fast vibration, and the same thing with sound, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So
and
I just wanted to put that out there. Like, there's no bad vibration.
no,
There's
there is no
there's
bad
clear
vibration.
and congested, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that that relates to, you know, this whole concept of good or bad. And it's not. I mean, it's all contrast there to show us what we want more of or what
Mm.
we are here to bring forth. So
Yeah.
much like our shadow, you know, we have parts of ourselves, and recognize that we don't have to attach to any part of ourselves. They're just very specific frequencies that move through us that
Yeah.
identify as us.
Yeah.
But we don't have to attach to them. They move through. And we keep building, but we keep having the aha moments because we can see them. And we're like, oh, is that what we want? Is that we want more of that? Okay,
Right.
we want more of that. Let's go. If we don't, why are we holding on to that? So
Mm.
it
Hmm.
some of the work that I'm doing is it just allows me to play in my imagination so that I can like get clarity about what it is that I truly want and move more successfully, more freely, more fun living, and
Yeah.
embody that.
I shared with someone else a couple weeks ago that a Marie Kondoing life. Does this feel good? No. This is useful. Do I use this? No. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. But I think that
Mhm.
what's helped with that has been just the natural maturation process of aging. You know,
Yeah.
you just you get to a point where you're just like, I'm gonna die someday. And so I'm just like being more selective.
Yeah, and I it's that's the richness of it though, right? So we
Yeah.
know that there is a we know that we are infinite, yet we have this opportunity to take advantage of while we're here.
Yeah.
And so, each one of us came with very specific gifts to share, and we're all working together to expand the world of possibility that's now.
Yeah.
And um, why not live the fullest, most vibrant part? Like, why not?
Right.
Why are we kind of like trying to, we can't stifle life always is changing, so it's
Yeah.
constantly evolving. So folks that are trying to hold tight, this is like an opportunity to surrender and allow yourself to blossom in a different way.
That's like living hand to mouth while you're tucking away for retirement. And while it's necessary to tuck away for retirement, you're living now also. And might as well enjoy some of that process because nothing's guaranteed. So, in the context of what you're talking about, might as well play. At the end of your life, are you going to regret not playing? I mean, maybe, like, because it can be more fun.
Yeah,
um,
exactly. A lot more lightness and laughter. Um, that really helps bring balance in our life. You know,
yeah, yeah,
um, it's and I'm not saying if you're in a really deep space that it doesn't feel nourishing. Sometimes we do have times of quiet and
mhm,
you know just being within, and that's okay too. But when you're wanting to be vibrant or choosing to be vibrant at a different time in your life, because we all have our waves, these are some tools that are very beneficial for that.
and would you say, like, if someone is in a mental or emotional place that they're just processing a lot, or it feels more heavy to them, and they're looking for a way to kind of like move through that, healthy, exploratory kind of way. Do you think that this is something that could potentially help them with that process?
I do, just because it helps uh, with your curiosity. You
Mm,
don't have to stay stuck, but it
yeah.
may help move through some of that energy and just being with it.
Mm,
There's many times where I've uh, much much like a lullaby to soothe, kind of self-soothing yourself.
yeah.
Um, you know, toning to my heart and just being really gentle and allowing the sounds to just soothe my soul.
Mm. And it's funny because the sound you just made was the sound in the center of the word soothe.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and
Soothe.
it's very interesting when you
Yeah.
start breaking down words and
Mhm,
you literally listen to the various different uh, vowels or aspects.
mhm.
I sometimes do that and play with names, like Suzanne, ooh, and, and. So like there's different parts of you that come from the actual word that you're playing with.
Interesting.
So
You know that I do a lot with like qualities, like
yeah.
what I call qualities of God, for lack of a better term, but qualities of divine. And so they are things like play and expression and trust and adventure and things like that. Um, I wonder, do you ever like use any of those words or affirmations with your toning?
I haven't. That's very interesting. That's I haven't like designed very specific words for my toning other than what I use my intuition, and then I just riff and I play in that kind of space.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's, a lot of people think that they have to have words. And I think
hmm,
sometimes the frequency that comes through is just the sound. It almost goes back to the word, and it was a sound. And
yeah.
so,
Ah, yeah. Biblical reference.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And so
Yeah.
just allowing the actual sound, and sometimes it bypasses the mental, like having to figure out a very specific word because your heart feels it,
Sure. Yeah.
and your heart knows, your intuition knows what's happening. So
I'm curious to, as you would say, play with
yeah.
the idea of taking some of these qualities and
Ooh,
toning the different lilts of the words, just to
okay.
kind of see how they would, I think
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna I think I'm gonna do that later. I'm gonna look at like bold, you know.
Whoa. Well, bold. Think about bold.
Yeah.
Oh, where that's like right in your solar plexus.
Oh, see,
Oh,
that's so interesting, right?
yeah.
Oh,
And A play. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So they
So I'm curious, what got you curious about getting working with sound and playing with this?
um like I said, when I was still working with healing my body, I got curious and just felt into various different frequencies that I would find in YouTube. And that kind of led me to just making sounds. And then I was just speaking it sounded like speaking in tongues. And what I really realized for me is that that was my own light language.
Mm-hmm.
It was coming from my divine self, just coming through my heart, and I would just speak.
Yeah.
And it. I remember trying to Google search it, uh, seeing if it was a different language.
Google, what is light language?
Well, and what is the
Yeah,
stuff that I'm talking about? But
yeah.
it was sounds. It was pure sounds coming through, and um, so that just got my curiosity, and then I ended up feeling like I needed a little bit more information. So I, took some sound healing therapy courses, and realizing that there are very specific notes with very specific resonance for our emotional bodies, our physical bodies, etheric bodies,
Mm.
and weave those in to the work that I do. So it's kind of like a hodgepodge of all different techniques, not probably only from this lifetime, but probably from another lifetime that I have now melded together to really own my tone and honoring who I am and remembering who I am in my full essence.
Mm. So, you know, uncovering yourself from all those other voices is a part of your process of remembering.
Yes. Yeah. It's remembering that still small voice and
Yeah.
our and our connection to the divine. So yeah, for sure.
So you personally do like some meditation, like you said, some contemplation, and then this. Um, w- what can people do? I mean, we talked about, going through the vowel sounds and whatever. But what else do you suggest that other folks can do to really embrace their authentic voice?
Well, I do believe that there is a lot of self-love practices that can take place. I designed a 21-day self-love practice several years ago that so you're tuning back into yourself every morning. It's,
Mm,
and you're doing this spiritual practice. It takes practice to remember and remember and keep coming back into your authentic who you are, what you came here to do and be, and what it is that you're desiring to create while you're here.
mm,
So yeah. So part of it is self-love practices in that way.
sure.
Um, I've also, spent some time in doing forgiveness practices for things that, I had no idea that I may have hurt another, but a lot of is how have I not listened to myself? So it's
Mm,
forgiving myself.
yeah.
Um, and then
Either hurting another and then feeling the out of alignment with like integrity or how you wish that outcome would have been. And
right.
yeah, yeah.
and,
So
and all you can do is
eradicate blame. Yeah.
you're just then shifting that from that awareness and having to give that love to yourself and mending that so that you
Mhm.
can move through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I talk about this a lot, that I think that acceptance is really the key that unlocks lots of doors. And once you start accepting one thing, you can come into acceptance with other things. And I do believe that acceptance is where self-love starts, because you can't really love yourself. You can talk about loving yourself all day, but until you accept the wholeness, the good, the bad, the ugly, the great,
The whole
then the whole gamut, and not see them as disparate parts of your being, but in true wholeness, then you can truly begin this relationship of learning how to actively be loving with yourself. And I think that a lot of people like look at self-love and it's like, oh well, it's I'm gonna get my facial and my mani-pedi. And it could be, I don't want to make that be not a thing. But it's also taking a real honest look at your finances to know where you're at. And it's also letting yourself play when you're restricting yourself.
right.
It's also sharing your gifts with the world when you're wanting to hide away and not be seen because it's
Yeah.
easier and safer. Um, you know, and then offering nourishment and reward to yourself when you do those big bold moves. So it's just like being your own child and your own best friend and your own partner all at the same time. I think.
Yeah, it's a big practice, right? So
Yeah.
moving through your father, mother, your little girl, your uh, professional self, your
Mhm.
whatever, the face with 10, the mask of 10,000 faces. You
Yeah.
get to be and play in whatever way you choose, but you came here with a very specific mission. And so it's just remembering who you came here to be. And a lot of it, I think, is coming down to just pure love
Mm, mm.
and how you're choosing to express that in this life.
It's interesting that you use the word mask, because this whole conversation has got me wondering, like, neurodiversity, right? And people who don't realize they're neurodiverse, but just know that they're different, and they have to take on, or they feel they have to take on this identity to be like everyone else, not be such a weirdo, or fit in or function even sometimes. And so like I'm wondering, my mind has been kind of playing with the idea of like toning for neurodiversity and how, first of all, people on the autism spectrum have a tendency to be a little more rigid, and that's a generalization, and I know, but there's a thing there. And, I'm wondering, like, would that help? And I'm wondering, like, people, with ADHD and their attention's all over the place and they're constantly thinking, hello, like if that would help to kind of centralize their thoughts a little bit. So it's interesting. I would say if you find yourself on the neurodiverse spectrum, maybe give it a try and see and let us know. like let us know what results you see after honestly giving it a go for a little while.
Yeah. Music is such a beautiful way back to our souls. I mean, it, with whether it's instrumentation, but there's something very unique about our voice and our very specific frequency that we can share with billions of people on the planet, and we may not touch all billions of people, but we touch the people that we're here to touch and learn and grow with. So using our unique voice is key, and sharing all of you. So don't hide yourself away.
Yeah, love it. Love it. So I think all of this has covered like why you've really I was going to ask you why you believe this is so important, but I think that really we've gotten down to it. But if you have any more ideas about why this work is so important,
Well, I think this is one avenue of work. There's many different avenues anyone can choose. So that's the thing. I like to play in lots of playlands. And so, my space in contemplating my life design or my human design, I get geeked out about that. So I enjoy playing in that playland too. So it's not just one channel. There's many different things that I've pulled together that resonate with my heart. And so you get to choose what lights you up. And if it does, then, if you want somebody as a mentor and a guide, that would probably be something that I can help you with. But if it's not, then there would be somebody else who's here to light you up in your specific way. So
that ebbs and flows, like like that's a dynamic. It constantly changes.
Right.
Which is a great segue. Like, so, what do you do? How do you support people individually and collectively in toning and projecting their authentic voice and in general? Like what?
So one of the courses that I created was specifically on atonement for you. And it helps with specific toning practices to assist you in tuning back into yourself. That's one way. Another way is my 21-day self-love heart activation practice. Another way in which I am just getting going now is with the School of Light. I mean, I've done some things there, but we're now developing based on what's happening in the solar and planetary array, like what just to support people's systems moving through shadow stuff into their light. And so I definitely feel like there's a lot of opportunity to explore, but I'm doing some one-on-ones with people too that are wanting to dive deeper into who they are and clear out stuff that they just don't feel they need anymore. So it's kind of like the cleaning crew, they're just.
So then people can find you on social media?
Yeah, they can find me at Susanne Jane Joy on Facebook right now. And
that's Joie.
Joie, Joy, yeah. And one of these days I may create a website. So until then, you can always just find me right there.
Sounds great. Any other like final thoughts about projecting your authentic voice, or play or toning that we
Yeah.
can take away?
So this is such a great time to be in your heart and follow your guidance system.
Mm.
And it's one of the things that I keep thinking about is there's a lot of people that are feeling very heavy and it's a struggle. And I think that you might be picking up energy from the collective, and you might be experiencing it yourself because you're picking it up from the collective. So
Mm.
I think some of these toning practices may be helpful and beneficial for you to get back in touch with yourself.
And kind of clear away the clutter of not just the voices from the past, but also the energy around you
Right,
if
right.
you're energetic sensitive.
If you're
Yeah.
if you're energetic sensitive, it's one of those things where then you can gain clarity. Certainly Mother Nature, helps a lot in that, and is a great support to our system, whether it's sitting by a river or a creek, or hanging out with a tree, or grounding
Mm.
yourself on the ground. But toning can help too. Yeah, and remembering that we are here to play. How nourishing is that to our system? Maybe it's not sound, maybe it's art, maybe
Mm.
it's exploring a new way of doing something that you've never tried before, playing an instrument, or
Yeah.
just get curious,
That's interesting. Like I goof around with paints sometimes, and I don't take myself at all seriously about it, but it would be interesting to like tone and paint at the same time. That might
Yeah, I've
be.
actually done that with groups of women before. And one of the things that's very interesting is that several people that I've worked with have been like, oh my God, I remember doing that as a kid. I would make sounds when I was like painting. And
Oh,
then what's
yeah.
really beautiful is as you look at that after it's all done, go ahead and flip the page over and just start writing. Just start writing
Hmm.
of what you sense or feel from that painting. There's a message in it for you. There's
Yeah.
definitely a message in it for you.
Well, that's a great little fun experiment to do. So you got painting and sound, and then a little journaling thrown in there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and projecting your authentic voice and talking with us about toning. Um, just appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Mwah.